My name is Ron Frankel. I'm a previs supervisor and I'm the founder of Proof Inc. We're a previs studio based in Los Angeles, California. I've been involved in previs for a little over 15 years. Proof is coming up on its 10th year. We work mostly in the feature film industry, but we also branch out into cultural projects, TV commercials, some video game work, and looking into more experience design and architectural installations as well. My background, not to go too far back, but my background is in architecture. That was where I got my formal training, and how I first got introduced to previs, and what I think still holds true today, is that previs is really all about design and planning for visual effects. So, the idea that we're using, high-end computer animation tools, but we're still using them for the same simple purpose of helping the filmmakers figure out what they want to do and how they're going to go do it. And that definition, I think, applies equally today as it did when I first started in this industry. What's happened in the intervening years is the work's gotten a little bit more sophisticated, clearly. We're doing a lot more of it. And now what we're discovering is that there are kind of different flavors of previs depending on what stage of production you're in. So your typical, before you start shooting previs, design, planning, help them figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to go do it. Once plates are shot, what we've all discovered is that it's great to have that previs team come back and start to layer some of the effects, do temp effects, layer some of the CG elements back onto the photograph plates. That's picked up the name of postvis, because now instead of it being pre, we're post. It's still the same idea. The same basic logic applies. We're still working with the filmmakers, helping them design and plan, but now there's one element that's fixed, and that's the plate. So, given that plate that they photographed, how the visual effects can get feathered into it, what elements are there, what elements aren't there, and we're still working in this highly collaborative, very interactive environment where we can change things quickly. It's not a production pipeline, it's still a design pipeline. And that's a distinction that I think needs to be kind of maintained throughout the entire previs process. And it's what distinguishes it from visual effects. That from beginning to end, we're looking at previs as a design practice, not a production practice. To go into the virtual production, my view on virtual production is it's taking that exact same methodology of applying these high-end, in the case of virtual production, kind of super high-end cutting-edge tools, bringing them on set, but for the same purpose, the purpose of working with the filmmakers to help them design and make creative decisions. Giving them the flexibility to actually get real-time feedback of what they're shooting, how it's going to look in the end. And granted, it's a proxy, it's a temp. It doesn't look nearly as good as what the final product will look like, but it gives them the substantive information that they need in order to make quality creative decisions. So again, we're still looking at using all these tools as a design discipline, and that's really what ties all the various flavors of previs together. Yeah, from the research we've done through the Previs Society, kind of looking back at the history of it, we've traced the beginning of previs back, kind of 15 plus years to the first example that we could find of someone doing what we all consider to be previs. It's been around a lot longer than people have kind of off the cuff think about. What's changed is the role that it's played, the central role that it's starting to play in productions, because I think what I'm experiencing through our work at Proof and the work that we're doing in the different studios is everyone's looking for an incredibly high level of visual quality in the final film. Films are getting more sophisticated, viewers are getting more sophisticated. They're having to do higher quality work, but they're having to do that higher quality work typically in less time. So the filmmakers don't have months and months or years and years in order to kind of gestate these ideas and develop them and really kind of think about how it's going to go. If they're lucky, they have weeks. And where previs comes in is it's that tool that lets them see the future. It lets them see those decisions and how they're going to play out, and we can do it quickly. So I think part of what has really elevated previs and been driving the industry is exactly what is people are complaining about on the post side, are these tight schedules and these tight budgets, because in that amount of time you need to work fast, you need to think fast, you need to act fast, and previs is kind of a tool that allows you to do that. I think that there's certainly a lot more The filmmakers, I mean, specifically the director, in some instances the cinematographer, although we don't see the cinematographer as often as we would like to, but certainly the director, they're able to essentially get access to information much sooner than they would normally. So suddenly they're able to make decisions in pre-production that under kind of traditional circumstances they wouldn't make until they were on set or sometimes even into post. So in the right hands with the right kind of director and the right kind of production, suddenly you can start making a lot of quality decisions very early on, which will allow you to have a very efficient production, move quickly, and start to really focus on quality. The question is, are directors really willing to go there? And there's certainly that breed of director who wants to kind of feel it on set. They don't want to be locked into a set of decisions during pre-production. They want to kind of set up an environment in pre-production that's the world they want to live in, but they still want to get onto set in order to make all the actual kind of nitty-gritty, down to the shot decisions. So I think what you're seeing is previs being applied to different levels of detail. Where for one director you might get down to, down to the, kind of decimal level of, and down to the frame level of decision making of what camera goes where, what the lens is, how it's framed up, what the timing is. For another kind of director, you're basically saying, look, we're going to create kind of a sandbox within which you can play and get familiar with and accustomed to what you're going to find on set. But once you get out there, you're still going to have to feel it. You're still going to have to make the actual decisions. And the technology is now allowing us to be very flexible with that sort of thing. We can work fast and loose. At the same time, we can work with kind of a high level of accuracy if need be. One of the big tools that's come out in the last few years is the virtual camera in terms of pre-production. Being able to actually put out, either with a motion capture system or just an inertial system, kind of a magic window into the world. That's certainly something that is, I think, changing how pre-production is working. Being able to do virtual location scouts, being able to kind of build a completely synthetic world, but then walk around as if you're really there and really kind of scout it. Within the actual previs, I would say that faster machines just allow us to do more quicker. We're not having to put the brakes on and limit the visual quality that we can achieve, because we can kind of pull all the stops out and use textures and lights and shadows. We've been recently getting into using CG effect shaders in order to get some really kind of arresting and captivating new looks for the previs, and that's something that's been really interesting recently. There's not kind of one look to previs anymore. We're beginning to explore different styles that might be appropriate for one particular director, or a different style that might be appropriate for a particular production.